I called out my husband's name, but instead of his familiar voice, I heard a woman's. "Who are you? What is your relationship with Marcus?" I demanded. The voice on the other end sounded startled, but calm. "My name is Emma," she replied. "I'm 30 years old and I work in marketing. As for Marcus, well, we've been seeing each other for some time now." I couldn't believe it. Marcus, the man I'd been married to for 2 years. This couldn't be real. I'm Leela, and my husband Marcus, and I were supposed to have a normal, happy marriage, or at least I thought we did. But everything changed one evening when I became dangerously ill. It started with a terrible fever. I had gone to work that morning, but as the day went on, I felt sicker and sicker. The dizziness, the nausea, and the shaking. My body was clearly rejecting me. My forehead burned with heat, and I knew I had to get home. I went to my boss, who thankfully let me leave early. On the way home, I grabbed some fruit, drinks, and over-the-counter cold medicine. By the time I lay down in bed, I felt like I was falling apart. It was lunchtime, so I called Marcus to let him know what was going on. "Hey Marcus, it's me. I'm really sick. My temperature is 100 degrees Fahrenheit. Can you come home soon?" His response, however, was shocking. "I don't want to. I'm staying out tonight. I don't want to catch whatever you have." I could barely believe my ears. Was this really my husband speaking to me? "I'm not feeling well either, and you're acting like this," I murmured weakly, but he had already hung up, saying his lunch break was over. I was too dizzy and weak to process the betrayal in his words. Instead, I immediately called my sister, who lived nearby. "Please, I need your help. I can barely stand. I'm home alone and sick." She rushed over and took me straight to the hospital. After a few tests, the diagnosis came back. Not only did I have a nasty cold, but I also had a stomach ulcer. The fever only made it worse, but the constant stomach pain was unbearable. I'd spent several days in the hospital, my condition not improving quickly enough for comfort. The next day, I called into work and explained my situation. My boss, sounding genuinely concerned, apologized for any added stress and encouraged me to rest. Perhaps, I thought, I had been pushing myself too hard. But the truth was, there was more to it. I was also doing all of the housework. Marcus had always been terrible with chores. Growing up, he had lived at his parents' house and had never learned how to take care of a home. When we first got married, I had asked him to pitch in. He agreed at the time, but it didn't take long for him to slack off. Soon I was doing everything, cleaning, cooking, and managing all the household tasks. I would try to teach him how to cook, but he never showed any interest in learning. It became clear that I was on my own. But even then, I didn't want to burden him. I pushed myself, taking on extra responsibilities at work and managing the home. But the stress was taking its toll. My phone died while I was at the hospital, so I couldn't reach Marcus. I tried calling his office from a hospital phone, but I couldn't remember his office number. I always called him directly from my cell, and now it felt like I was becoming invisible in my own life. My sister visited later in the evening, bringing me a change of clothes and an iPad. "Here, this will help you pass the time," she said sweetly. As I settled into the hospital bed with the iPad, I remembered I still needed to contact Marcus. I borrowed my sister's phone and dialed his number. It rang a few times before a woman picked up. "Hello," I said, trying to keep my voice steady. When she replied, I froze. "Who is this?" I asked, panic rising. "What's your connection to Marcus?" She calmly responded, "My name is Emma. I'm his girlfriend." I felt a cold shiver run through me. His girlfriend? But Marcus has a wife. That's me, I nearly shouted, struggling to make sense of it. "Yes, I know about you, but that's none of your business. I'm not looking to interfere," she said dismissively. I hung up, the phone slipping from my hand. My sister, who had been standing silently beside me, couldn't hide her disgust. "It looks like he's been having an affair," she said. "That's just disgusting." At that moment, everything clicked. Marcus's strange coldness toward me, his refusal to come home when I was ill, none of it was just a coincidence. Perhaps the other woman had answered the phone thinking it was someone else. But now, I knew the truth. If I hadn't made that call from my sister's phone, I would never have uncovered the truth. After charging my phone, I finally called my husband to tell him I was in the hospital. He sounded concerned but distant, saying, "I'm worried about you, but I can't visit. I don't want to get sick, So just take care of yourself." I couldn't hold back a bitter laugh. What kind of man doesn't visit his sick wife in the hospital? He was the lowest of the low. Not only did he have the audacity to neglect me, but he was also involved with another woman. "Okay, I'll call you when I get out," I said, keeping my voice steady. But inside, my mind was already racing, planning my next steps. I was recovering quickly, and I was supposed to be discharged that same day. But I wasn't just planning for my health, I was planning my escape. I stayed at my sister's house after leaving the hospital. I made arrangements with a lawyer, hired a private investigator, and even started searching for a new apartment. Everything had to be kept secret. Marcus would never suspect a thing. Once the divorce preparations were complete, I called him again. "I'm out of the hospital and back home," I told him. He was there when I arrived, but he looked completely indifferent. "Oh, thank God you're out. It must have been such a tough time," he said with a detached expression, almost as if he was relieved I was home, but not overly concerned. I had been keeping calm, but my patience was wearing thin. A few days later, I finally got the information I needed from the investigator. Armed with the truth, I confronted Marcus. I slapped the divorce papers on the table and said, "I want a divorce." "What?" He looked genuinely confused. "Why? What's this about?" I crossed my arms, glaring at him. "Let me ask you, Marcus, are you familiar with someone named Julia Gray?" As soon as I said her name, his face drained of color. He started stammering. "She's just a colleague. What are you implying?" I smiled grimly. No point in hiding anymore. I have proof. I played the recording from my sister's phone, an audio clip of Julia admitting her relationship with Marcus. His expression faltered. The jig was up. "I'm sorry, Leela. I don't know what got into me. Please don't do this. I don't want a divorce," he begged. I scoffed. "Stop acting like you're the victim here. You never wanted a divorce because you're after my money and someone to clean up after you. You've been nothing but a burden." Unable to say anything else, he remained silent, but I could see the fight was gone. However, he still refused to sign the divorce papers, so I took the next step. I sent a certified letter to his workplace urging him to agree to the divorce. I did the same for Julia, informing her that her affair had been exposed. To my surprise, it seemed like the whole office already knew. Marcus was furious. He called me, practically shouting, "You've caused a huge mess at work. What are you going to do about this?" "I'm not responsible for your actions," I replied coolly. "If you don't sign the papers soon, we'll take this to court. How long do you think you can afford a legal battle when I make more than you?" He muttered some choice words, but finally, the reality hit him. He signed the papers. The divorce was finalized and I filed for alimony against both Marcus and Julia. They each had to pay me $20,000. I couldn't help but feel a sense of justice. Marcus had been so eager to meet with his mistress while I was sick, and this was the price he had to pay. Honestly, I wish I could have gotten more, but it was still a significant amount. Marcus's life after the divorce didn't improve. He got a pay cut at work and was transferred to a less prestigious department. Julia, unable to handle the gossip, resigned. But the real twist came when Marcus was walking home late one night. Julia's brother and his friends confronted him, angry over the affair, and beat him up. I wasn't proud of what happened to him, but I couldn't help thinking he got exactly what he deserved. As for me, I used the alimony money to put a down payment on a beautiful condo. Now I'm living in my dream apartment, enjoying life on my own terms. I made a mistake choosing Marcus as my partner, but now I'm determined to make a better choice in the future. Thank you for watching. If you liked this story, please subscribe to the channel. See you in the next one.